Black as Me, a Savory treasure, the story of David and Patricia Hilliard. Huey lives around the corner me. Now every morning we go to school together. I on the small porch, like clockwork he approaches, quick stepping, well, telling me something even before he reaches me. I jump off the porch because Huey doesn't stop. He's going to school, jabbering, one idea another. Huey's not a good reader. Believing that adulthood will bestow him the instant ability to read, he doesn't try to improve his literacy. An IQ score is somewhere down below dull normal. But he does possess a powerful memory, reciting it to bells, and Tarth the Raven, and easements. This morning he's repeating the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, telling me the quatrains he's heard recited over the radio by Kool Monty K. A loaf of bread, a jug of wine, and now I rush to keep up. I like the image of the lines, their romantic listlessness. There's no one like Huey. He always has something to say, something interesting. He won't let anything go. When he and our friend James Crawford get together, they spend half a night trading dozens because James invents rhymes much better and faster than Huey. I fucked your mama on 12th and Vine, the baby came out drinking cold white wine, says Huey. I fucked your mama from city to city, answers James, and the baby was sucking from titty to titty. But Huey always refuses to surrender. I watch them, laughing and marveling until finally, as always, the dozens disintegrate into a fight, and James and Huey tie one on. The older I get, the more confusing school becomes. Every day you must choose. What are you going to be? A guy from the streets? Or a sadidi like Melvin? A bookworm? I love dictionaries, for instance. Looking up words, reading all the different definitions, discovering their histories, fascinates me. Sometimes I think I could spend days turning the fragile pages of the thick book. Yet though I admire learned people, and am fiercely proud of and awed by, say, the ability of my brother Alan to tell a story, or of Huey to explain an idea, the world and my own instincts guide me to revere someone like Clyde, the hippest kid in my junior high, who comes from New York, smokes reefer, and wears the coolest pair of pants I've ever seen, shoestrings lacing up the ripped open seams along the side. Plus, at the same time, I cut myself off. I don't know why, but once I learn how to read, for some reason I think there's no more reason to go to school. And for all the talk in school about studying hard, a lot of the teachers indicate something else. The worst is music. I love music. I've always been told my voice is sweet. Music is like smell to me, a natural sense for me, a kind of knowledge. In junior high, myself and my friends Irving Kindler, Ray Bell, and Gene McKinney organize a group singing a cappella imitations of the Moonglows and Satins. The person I love is Pat. She's a little younger than me, tall, light-skinned, with large brown eyes and a sexy, sometimes husky, confident voice. I have dreamed of marrying a pretty woman, prayed to God to give me a beautiful mate. Pat's my dream come true, the most desirable woman I've ever seen. I want her to be mine instantly. We meet at one of Melvin's college frat parties. Look at that girl, I tell Huey. We're posing, as we say, or profiling, standing in a corner where the girls will see us and we can check out the action. I know her, says Huey. She used to go to Wilson with me. He introduces us. Pat couldn't be less interested. Pleased to meet you, she says and walks on. But I am smitten. I wait until she comes back through the doorway, approaching us. As she passes, I stick out my foot, tripping and then catching her. Hey, I say, smiling, unless you fell for me. I got you. Now you gotta be my woman. And I ask her for her telephone number. This is my usual line, preempting any resistance, but Pat resists me, writing and freeing herself with a frosty, feisty, or excuse me, that leaves me empty-handed. Then she transfers to McClymonds. Now I apply myself to the pursuit. Luckily, I've just acquired a new status symbol. June has given me my first car, a Plymouth. After my gang and I paint the rusted body white, we go for a drive. Gas fumes drift up from the floor. You gotta give this car a name, Doc, says Darlene, a girl who runs with our gang. Doc's my nickname. Well, what do you think I should call it? I say. Want a modulator? Why? What's that? Because it's so gassy in here, it modulates my breathing capacity. I hang out in the modulator every day, waiting for Pat by school. Hey, I tell her, no way you're not gonna be my woman. You gotta be my woman. She just keeps walking down the street, leaving me behind. Hey, Darlene says to her in the hall after class, I know Doc really likes you. He wants you to be his woman. Well, who's Doc? Pat says. You know, the guy in the white Plymouth? I don't know nothing, says Pat and walks away. I find out things about Pat. Huey tells me she was a good student back in Wilson, a good reader from a Catholic school background. But she also has a wilder streak. She hangs out with older girls, they invite her to Melvin's frat party, and already has a 1-year-old child. The split, I don't know this then, but I find out, is the key to Pat's character. Her mother and great aunt moved to Oakland in the 30s to run a whorehouse for a white man from their Louisiana town. But early on, Pat's mother abandons her, leaving Pat with her great aunt. Pat grows up with brothers and sisters who act as though they're her cousins, and Minty, her adopted mother, who constantly denies the family past. He came here because there were sailors and other things, Pat says of the white man from Louisiana. So he got my aunt out here, and they had a red light house, and the rest of the family followed. She worked in the house. I'm quite sure that they worked as prostitutes first. Then, after they got other women to work there, they were more or less running it. They wouldn't ever talk about him, wouldn't say anything. We used to go up by the California Hotel to catch the trolley car to go downtown. My mommy, she'd see these prostitutes and stuff and would say, I'll sure be glad when they get him off the street. By then she had married someone else, my father, who was a jazz musician, and bought a whole bunch of houses. She had a lot of money. She rented out one house and was a real Christian, and had a room where you'd pray at, a room with candles and religious pictures and all that stuff. Mommy always treated me different. She always told me, when you make good grades, you learn. Because I want you to be able to take care of yourself. You always say you want a lot of children, but you have to go to school. You have to learn to have discipline. She constantly compared me to my cousins, my sisters and brothers, saying, but you're not going to be like that. You're going to stay in school. You're going to learn how to take care of yourself. You're not going to be on welfare. You're not going to have to depend on nobody but yourself. And my father was the same way. Frog, he'd say, because that was his nickname for me because of the way I'd get on my stomach when I was a baby after a bath. Frog, I want you to go to school. But I was very confused because so much was hidden from me. I didn't even know I had brothers and sisters. I kept bothering Mommy. I'd say, how come I'm always alone? I'm tired of being by myself and being alone. She would try to help me. She gave me dolls. I had dolls everywhere. I said, but don't talk to me. Then she tried to adopt a child. Finally, my older sister called my mother and told her because she knew how much I didn't like to be by myself. You have to tell Patricia that she has brothers and sisters. This is the story of author and music producer Dorian K. Hilliard Sr. and the frequency behind the cultural demise of hip-hop as he knows it. Dorian K. Hilliard Sr. is the CEO and founder of BLAC Music and Media Production, LLC. While growing up as a youth in Oakland, California, Dorian had the pleasure of performing and playing the trumpet with the late great Charles Moffett Sr., his mentor and band leader and instructor. Charles Moffett Sr., his mentor and band leader and instructor, who was the drummer for the renowned jazz band the Ornette Coleman Trio during the mid-1960s, as well as leading the Moffett family band throughout the 1970s when Dorian learned to play the trumpet at the Intercommunal Youth Institute in Oakland, California, later named Oakland Community School, operated by the Black Panther Party, the historical civil rights organization which his parents David and Patricia Pat Hilliard were both founding members, as well as childhood friends of its co-founder Dr. Huey P. Newton. Charles Moffett Sr. has been a continued inspiration behind Dorian's passion and desire to produce music, along with his father David. This father and son duo would partner up to create a clothing line and record label under the legendary mantra, Black Panther Records and Clothing, in 2002. Dorian has worked with artists such as the legendary African artist Thomas Mafumo, hip-hop legends Snoop Dogg, E40 and the group Above the Law, to name a few artists he eventually worked with. Over the past 3 decades, Dorian has actively worked as an events promoter, lyricist, music producer, executive producer, CEO, and most recently as a book author. Now as a blossoming book author and publisher, he is sharing his thoughts and search for meaning in his new book BLAC, The Biosphere of Molecular Energy is Me. His book is an evolutionary, scientific, and spiritual exploration of self-discovery through sound, frequency, and vibrations, carving his pathway within what he calls the energy revolution. While performing with the Intercommunal Youth Band out of Oakland, California, Dorian and his brother Daryl, alongside other family relatives and youth members led by Charles Sr., and his oldest son Mondre, along with his siblings Charles Jr., Codaryl Cody, Charisse and Charnay, would perform throughout the Bay Area, showcasing their exceptional skills and talent as a young youth band, opening up for legendary groups such as the Pointer Sisters. As a child prodigy, Charnette, Charles Sr.'s youngest son, who first appeared on record at the age of 7 in 1974 with the Moffett Family Band, around the same time playing and performing with Dorian and his brother Daryl, who was just 9 and 10 years old themselves. Somewhere around 1974 to 1975, Dorian became captivated with a new dance craze called the Boogaloo. His biggest influences were the dance groups called the Black Resurgent, featuring Ricky Gant, also known as Rick the Robot, out of Oakland, California, and the Soul Steppers featuring Marvin LeBeau, Greg Peanut Smith, Marlon Williams, Duty McLaren, and Lil Marvin Randolph of Berkeley, California. Both of these groups just happened to be close personal friends of Dorian and other family members. While having aspirations of becoming a professional baseball player, Dorian's journey of discovery would take him and his family to Mobile, Alabama, and then to Los Angeles, California, where he arrived in the summer of 1978. Now thrusted among the gang culture of the Bloods and Crips, with relatives claiming members on both sides, Dorian and his brother Daryl would remain neutral to the essence of their upbringing and foundation as Black Panther Party youth members, which garnered a great deal of respect amongst their peers on both sides of the fence. As the gang culture began to shift its behavior dynamics and drugs such as crack cocaine begin to replace PCP angel dust, with a desire to expand a broader revenue base along with some internal conflicts, the collective sense of brotherhood and camaraderie begins to break down as Crips begin to war amongst themselves as well as with the Bloods and Pyrus. As travel between hoods began to intensify, so did Dorian's outlook and affiliations as he moved around from Inglewood to South Central to Compton and Long Beach. Upon graduating from Inglewood High School in 1981 without acquiring a baseball scholarship, Dorian moves back to Oakland, California. In 1982, Frederick J. Rick Rubin, co-founder alongside Russell Simmons of Def Jam Recordings, release Hose Track, Def Jam's first record, a 45 revolutions per minute 7 vinyl single in a brown paper bag, and no label. The band broke up in 1984 as Rubin's passion moved toward the NYC hip-hop scene. As founder of American Recordings and former co-president of Columbia Records, Rick would help popularize hip-hop by producing records for acts such as the Beastie Boys, Ghetto Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy, and LL Cool J. Dorian would go on to join the U.S. Coast Guard from 1983 through 1987. Discharged in October, the hip-hop group Public Enemy, formed by Chuck D and Flavor Flav, would release their debut album, Yo! Bum Rush the Show, that same year, which rose to prominence for their political messages including subjects such as American racism and the American media to critical acclaim, and their second album, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back 1988, was the first hip-hop album to top the Village Voice's Paz and Job Critics poll. He would marry in 1989, having his first and only child in 1991. By this time, hip-hop and the genre of gangster rap is captivating the world, glorifying the daily social episodes and experiences of living in Southern California. As the daily tolls on young lives escalated, so did the need to identify environments and safe havens for young adults to enjoy themselves, which led to Dorian becoming an entertainment events promoter along with 4 of his high school friends, establishing what would become one of the most upscaled venues in Los Angeles, California, offering an evening of dignity and self-worth. This would be accomplished by requiring a dress to impress ambiance. This would continue from 1989 through 1997, which led to the formation and development of a record label called Music Mint Records, then Black Panther Records and Clothing in 2002 with his father David Hilliard. Their first group would be titled the Black Panther Fugitives, who would go on to release 3 compact discs under the label. Dorian and his father David would eventually cross paths with Public Enemy's Chuck D and his management team Walter Liepard and Latham Hodge, looking to bring legitimate authenticity to the culture of hip-hop due to its lack of integrity, substance, and values for the youth and communities that supported the culture. Public Enemy's first 4 albums during the late 1980s and early 1990s were all certified either gold or platinum and were, according to some music critics in 1998, the most acclaimed body of work ever by a hip-hop act. These were exactly Dorian and his father David's sentiments. Public Enemy was just that, an act.